Uh, I think the screen is visible to all the participants now, and all can hear me. Amandeep ma'am, please confirm whether I am audible and my screen of my laptop is visible to all.
Yes, sir, you are visible and audible. Student are sending messages in chat box.
Okay. 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 So, students, what we did in the previous session, we understood the concept of inheritance as well as polymorphism, and this was the last example that we were working on, polymorphism. Now, what we will do, we will try to understand the use of super methods. So let me copy this code first and create another code window like this. And now our objective is going to be understanding super. Now see, till date, what kind of inheritance hierarchy we have implemented is like this, shown in this diagram. Now you see in the user class, we have only two methods, sign in and attack, but there is no variable, no integer or floating point kind of variables. So methods are one thing, variables are another thing. So what we will do now, we will create a variable, a common variable in this class, superclass base class, with the name ID. Now, because I've already told you that in the base class, you write those kinds of variables or functions which we want to share among all the derived classes or the subclasses. So in that context, let that variable be ID, and we want this ID to be possessed by all the derived classes and the subclasses. And at present, there is no ID, user ID, available with any of the class. Your archer class is having name and number of arrows, boxer class is having name and power only, but there is no ID associated with any of the class. And because we want all the users to have the ID at least, that is mandatory. So in that context, it makes sense to declare this variable and use this variable in the superclass. So what I will do now, I will make certain changes in the superclass of the base class like this, along with the self. Now I will pass the ID, variable also like this. Earlier I was just passing self. Rather than doing it with making this functionality available with the sign in, we can create the init function. That makes more sense. So what we will do, def underscore init and self comma ID, and self dot ID is equal to ID. So what we did is we created associated one variable ID with the superclass, and we want this variable to be inherited by all the derived classes of the subclasses. Now let's see whether this ID is available with Robin and Big Box. If I try to print Robin dot ID. Now see, why I am now trying to access ID with the Robin, because I have specified this ID with the user class, and Archer and Boxer classes are inheriting from the user class. And this Robin belongs to the Archer class, and because Archer class is inheriting user class and user class has ID, so in that sense this ID must be available with the Robin class. What will happen if I try to execute this? You see, we are getting an error that Archer object has no attribute ID. Now here you may feel a little confused in the sense that we mentioned ID, with the user class, and we inherited Archer and Boxer classes from the user class, then why this ID is not available with the Robin object? So this is the error that we are getting. Archer object has no attribute ID. The thing is that we have not initiated a call to this init method. This method was not called and ID didn't came into the picture. So now the question is how we can resolve this issue. Now here you need to understand this thing also, that if you want the ID to be associated with Robin or big box objects, somehow you need to pass this through the objects only. Now in this statement, Robin is equal to Archer Robin 80, we created the object with two attributes only, name, and this Archer has number of arrows, but nowhere we provided the ID. So let's provide the ID first. Let our Robin be having ID 1. I'll make the statement comment. Now if I try to run this program again, I'll get the error, but now in this case the error is init takes 3 positional arguments but 4 were given. So that means to say your Archer, when you are instantiating the object like this, you are passing, system is passing 4 attributes, four arguments. One is the self, second is Robin, third is 80, and fourth is 1. So this is what the statement says. It takes 3 positional arguments, but you are specifying 4, because here along with Archer you are mentioning that this object will accept only 2 attributes, name and arrows, but it is not accepting ID. So we need to make changes over here also. So in Archer class also, along with number of arrows, comma, here I need to mention, I have to mention ID also. Now here either I can write self dot ID is equal to ID. I'm mentioning this ID with this. So you can do the things like this, but these things are not recommended. Why? Because now in this case you are actually not making a call to this higher class, this superclass init function, because ID needs to be provided by the superclass, not by this class. So although you can write this statement self.id is equal to ID, but this is not recommended because we want this ID to be assigned by the superclass on. So how we can get around this problem? So one thing that you can do over here is, here you can explicitly make a call to the init function of the superclass. You simply write user dot underscore init underscore and then pass ID. So this function will get called and ID will be specified. But here you need to mention self also. See, if you are making a call to the function from outside, no need to explicitly mention self. But here within the definition of a method in the class, you need to mention self like this. So we need to make similar changes in the Boxer class also. So here also, in the Boxer class, we need to mention one more attribute ID. And what we will do now over here is we'll make a call to the superclass, which is user underscore init, and then we will pass ID. And this object, Robin object, is also accepting ID now. Now let's try to run it. So you'll see now our program has executed fine. We have printed the value possessed by this Robin object, Robin.id, and it has displayed 1. So this is what we expected. So now our inheritance hierarchy is working fine. With the base class, now we have associated one variable that we are saying is ID, and this ID is now available to all the lower classes. Let's check it with others class, big box, and if I now try to print big box dot ID, and obviously I need to supply ID over here also. let's say this is the second player, big box, and the ID is 2. Now if I run the program, so it is saying big box init missing one required positional argument ID. So user dot init, yes, we didn't specify self over here, so we need to write self. And now let's run the program, and yes, this program is running fine. 1 and 2, the ID of the first object Robin is 1 and ID is 2. So again, this demonstrated that this base class functionality, user ID is available with the Archer class object as well as with the Boxer class object. Here we are trying to understand super. We have not used super. What we have used instead is a call to this function user dot underscore underscore init and self comma ID. So a better way to do over here is to make a call using super method. So what we'll do now, because we are trying to understand the usage of super, I'll make these statements comment, and instead of writing underscore, I'll write super dot underscore underscore init underscore underscore and ID. So see the difference. Observe the difference between these two statements: user dot init and super dot init. So one thing, we are not mentioning the name of the class, rather we are using the super method. And second, when you are using super method, there is no need to mention self also. You can simply write ID. There is no need to write it like self comma ID. You can simply mention ID. So let's make this change in the Boxer class as well. Here we will write super dot underscore underscore init underscore underscore and ID. And now if I run the program, see, the program is running fine. Program is running exactly the same way it was running earlier. So absolutely no difference between these two statements, whether you use super or user.init, and the same thing. Okay, so you will be getting the same result. So this was the demonstration regarding or the usage of super method, and I hope that this concept is clear to you. So what we are doing with super is we are making a call to the init function of the classes which lie higher in the inheritance hierarchy. We are invoking the constructor of the super class of the base class, because ultimately data needs to flow from bottom to up. Because here also, see, when you are declaring object of these class, ID are provided over here, because ID exists in the base class. So somehow it needs to flow to that level through derived class, and that thing is addressed using the way I described, that you create a new ID variable in the derived classes, and when you are mentioning the definition of init function in those derived classes, so from within those classes, from those classes init function, you make a call to the init method of the super class. I hope this concept is clear to you. Now we will talk about another interesting thing, that is called object introspection. So now we'll try to understanding introspection. So in object and introspection basically means wherein object tries to understand what kind of methods or variable it has access to, and what things it can invoke with itself. So there is a very nice method available in Python called the dir method. So with that method, we can get to know what kind of variable and method access an object has. So let me demonstrate the usage of that function to you. We will make these statements comments, and now I will write print dir Robin. So if you try to execute this statement, you will get an output like this. So this output is listing all the methods or methods that are accessible via this object, and also the variables and methods which this object can access and which you have specified while defining those classes. Like you see here in the last ID. So this thing ID, name, number of arrows, and sign in. So this Robin object has access to these things. So ID is coming via user class. This ID, this name and number of arrow are specified within this Archer class itself, and this sign in is again coming from the user class, because in the user class you mentioned the sign in. This dir function allows you to do object introspection. Anywhere in the programming language, you can check what kind of access an object has to the methods or to the variables. Similarly, now if I print dir big box, then you will see that now also you have got a list of methods or the variables that are accessible, and now you can make a comparison. Both have attack method, both have ID variable, both have name variable, but see, number of arrow is not being possessed by the big box. So this Robin has access to number of arrows, wherever this big box object has access to the power attribute. And then at last this sign in method is shared by all. So these were the things about the object introspection. So you must understand this concept, that with the help of this method, this function dir, you can get to know what kind of access an object has to the methods as well as the variables. So now what we will do, we will inherit from existing classes, or we can say built-in classes. Okay, print, if I print type this thing, I get this output that whatever the thing that you have passed is a list. So type of this square bracket is list, and list is a class. So in the first lecture, we use this statement. We displayed the type of various things. We display the type of list and tuple also, dictionary also, integer also, and the system said that all these are basically the classes. So now what we are going to do here is we will try to drive our class from one of the existing built-in classes and let that class be list on. So let's try to create a super list. So what we'll try, we will try to create a super list derived from list class, and this list class is this one, the Python systems list class. So how we can do this thing is, so we will say class super list, and then let's say pass. So here I have not inherited this class from the list class, but if I want to do that inheritance, I'll simply write list over here. So please understand the meaning of writing list over here. So if in the square brackets you will mention list, then that will mean to the system that we want to inherit our super class from the list class. So list class will act as a base class or super class for this super list. Now let's try to create few objects for this class. Let's say super list is equal to super list. So let me check whether I am able to run this program. Yes, this program is working very fine, and we have got the existing functionality of this list class in our super list class. So if I now execute statement like this, print length of super list. This super list is this one super list, and I'll get the output as 0 because at present till this time we have not added any element to the super list. But if I say super list dot append 1 and then again super list dot append 2, and now if I make a call to the length function, you'll see the system is displaying that now your super list has a length of 2. Now see, super list is our class, our object. The super list is our object. Still, it has got the ability to use append method, to use this length method. Why? Because you have inherited this class from the existing list class. And what will happen if I delete this? Okay, let me give a demonstration. Now I'll delete this class list. Now if I try to execute this code, you will get an error. Super list has no object append. Why? Because now in this case you have not inherited your class from the existing list class. But if I write list is the system's list class, you will get the access to all these functions, append and whatever functions or methods are available with the list. So now you will be able to make it. So this very simple example demonstrated how you can build your own more powerful classes from existing classes. Here I use the word super list. Though I have not specified any super functionality, I have just demonstrated the way. But you can specify your own super specialities in this class like this. You can make your classes derived from the existing classes. Now here you also see length, how length method has been implemented on super list. It is returning the length. So again, if I introspect this object and what we can do is, let's say we override the length method, this method over here, like this, def underscore length self return 1000. Now what will happen if you will run this code? You'll say the system is outputting that the length of the super list is 10,000. But in reality, actually the length is 2. You added only 2 members, two integers into the list, 1 and 2. So what we have demonstrated is how you can override the existing functionality the functionality provided by the existing classes. Now, length, if you didn't overwrite, it is producing the correct result. So now in this case, you need to write pass. You are getting the correct answer 2. But if you override the existing methods like this by mentioning the code under the dunder methods or magic methods like this, so you'll start getting output like this. So with this thing, I just intended to demonstrate how you can override the existing functionality. So one more dunder method is this def __ string. So we can overwrite this also. Let's say you cannot super list. Now instead of length, if I use str, let me make these statements comments first. Now if I try to print str super list, what is the output? See, 1 and 2, because 1 and 2 are the elements that we added to the list. And if you print the string equivalent of this list, this is the output you will get, 1 and 2. But if I override this existing string method, like in this case, let me remove these comments. Now you will run the program. See, you are getting output. You cannot use a string with superlist. So in the previous case, we overridden the length method, and now in this case, now we have overridden the functionality of the string, the existing string functionality. So earlier, when this when we didn't specify this functionality, this string version was producing the correct output as 1 and 2. But when we overwrite this string method, and in the override version, when we wrote this, you cannot use str with superlist. So this is the output that you will get now. When you try to use a string with your superlist object. So I hope that the concept is clear to you. How you can create your own more powerful classes from the existing classes, number 1. And number 2, how you can overwrite the existing functionality, the functionality provided by the existing classes. Hope that both these concepts are clear to you. Another very, very important and challenging concept in inheritance is the usage of multiple inheritance. So now we'll try to demonstrate that thing, multiple inheritance. But for that, let's understand our problem first, that what we intend to do actually. Now, if you look at our inheritance hierarchy now, a lot of cluttering. Let me delete this thing and redraw the figure. It was like this. We have created a base class called the user class, and in this user class we have ID and a sign-in function and an attack function also. Then from this user class we derived 2 classes, Archer and Boxer. So ID got inherited in both, sign got inherited in both, and attack functionality was overridden by these respective classes. So please try to understand ID and sign-in methods we are inheriting in these classes, and attack functionality we overrode. Now, in these two classes, Archer and this Boxer, now I'll implement two more methods. Let's say run over here and walk over here. That means to say our Archer has the ability to run and Boxer has the ability to, let's say, walk. Just to in order to make certain methods unique in both the classes. So these methods have the same name. Run and walk are the unique methods. Now, what we'll try to do, we'll try to create a hybrid of both the users. That means to say this hybrid user will have the functionality of Archer as well as Boxer. Now see, in Archer we have number of arrows present also, and in Boxer class we have the power. So these variables were also unique to these classes. Now our hybrid user, what we intend to do is let this hybrid user have the number of access to number of arrows variable, to power variable also, to run function also, to walk function also. Obviously we would be needing ID, sign in, attack. So we want this object to inherit all the characteristics possessed by all these classes. So this is the case of multiple inheritance. So this is our hybrid user, and all these variables will go over here. So please try to understand our problem, that what kind of multiple inheritance scenario we are implementing in our case. These classes we have already implemented user, Archer and Boxer, but hybrid we have mentioned run and classes in the Archer and Boxer classes. I hope that the problem description is clear to you, and now we'll proceed to code. So let me copy the code first so that we can just implement this specific functionality. Okay. So our user class is perfectly fine. There is no need to do anything with this class. This class has ID and the sign in function. Okay, perfectly fine, no problem with this class. In Archer class, now what we need to do is we need to specify the functionality for the run method. So because this we have considered as the unique method. So let's say def run self and print self dot name runs. Very simple functionality. Similarly, if we look at our Boxer class, there is no need to make any change. But yes, we need to define a walk function with this class, and let's say print self dot name walks. So we created run function under Archer, walk function under Boxer. Why? Because we needed certain unique functions under these classes. So this is okay. Now, let's try to run the code at this point, whether we're getting any errors. This thing can also be deleted. No need of this thing. Yes. No problems, no issues. till this point. Now, what we will do, we will try to create a hybrid class. Let's say class hybrid AB, hybrid of Archer and the Boxer class. And again, because this is a case of multiple inheritance, we need to write Archer, comma, Boxer over here. So this is why what we are intending to do, we want to inherit, this class from this Archer class, which is defined over here, and this Boxer class, which we have mentioned over here. Now, what we will do over here in the first instance, we will not do anything and simply do pass. And let's, create an object of our hybrid class now. Hybrid user is equal to hybrid AB, hybrid of Robin, comma, or no need to mention this thing, but if we simply write this thing, okay, you will be getting error. Anyhow, you need to pass Robin, comma, big box, and if you try to run, okay, you will get this init is missing one positional requirement. So like this, you will encounter many problems. Like you intend to create a hybrid object that is a mixture of Robin and big box, but if you make a call to if you instantiate the object like this, so these kinds of error message you are going to get, because we didn't define any functionality over here. Now, how to get around this problem is that now here you should not mention that hybrid is a combination of Robin and big box. Instead, this hybrid needs to have its own name. It needs to have its own number of arrows. It needs to have its own power, and it needs to have its own ID also. Because see, hybrid is also inheriting from base class, so ID is there, sign in function is also there. So this Archer class has a number of arrow variable, this Boxer class has a power. So it needs to have all these things. So in order to get this kind of functionality, now what we will do, we will define the init method over here, and here we will mention that when hybrid object would be instantiated, it will be initialized with a name value, with the number of arrows, with the power, and with ID also. And again, if we simply write self dot name is name, self dot number of arrow is this, self dot power is this, self dot ID is equal, that would not be a better way of doing the thing. Instead, what we should do, we should make a call to the init methods of the base classes. Why? Because in our case, this hybrid is inheriting from Archer and Boxer. So what we should do instead is Archer dot underscore init, and then self name, number of arrows, and then ID. So see, we are passing these things, name, number of arrows, and ID to the Archer object. And similarly, Boxer dot underscore init underscore self name, power and ID. And when I am instantiating hybrid, I pass the name hybrid as the name. So second is the number of arrows. Let's say the number of arrows be 10. And then I need to mention power and let the power be 20 and ID. And this is our third player, hybrid player. Now if I run the program, okay, it will work fine. But let's experiment with that, whether Robin can, sorry, this hybrid can run as well as walk, as well as whether it is able to sign in. So if I run, so you'll see this hybrid player has got all the abilities. Sign in, it is inheriting from the superclass, the user class. Run, it is inheriting from the archer class. So this hybrid player has the ability to run as well as the ability to walk, and this walk functionality is coming from the boxer side. So in that sense, it is a combination of this hybrid is a hybridization of the archer player and the boxer player. And if I try to print the ID, let's say print hybrid dot ID, what will happen? It is correctly showing it. See why? Because when you made a call to these classes, they ultimately made a call to the superclass init method as well. So I hope you understand the concept. Okay, now this hybrid player has the ability to all these methods. But if you try to walk with the Robin object, Robin dot walk, so there the system has to throw the error. Why? Because this walk archer object has no walk attribute. Similarly, if I say big box dot run, you'll say this big box has no run attribute. But hybrid player has both the abilities. It has the ability to run as well as walk, whereas our big box can only walk and Robin can only run. So now these things are hybrid runs as well as walks, whereas big box only walks, Robin only runs. So I hope that this functionality is clear to you. So I'll give you 1 minute to understand this code, how we have implemented multiple inheritance. And after 1 minute now, then we will start with another very important concept, that is the MRO, the method resolution order. But I'll just give you 1 or 2 minutes to understand what we did in this code.
underscore.
Okay, so now I'll start with another concept. MRO, which is called the method resolution order. Let's try to understand it. So have a look at this code, class A. Let's say num is equal to 10, class B inheriting from A, and we will do nothing over here, pass, then class C getting inherited from A, and number is equal to 1, and then class B getting inherited from B and C, and here also will not do anything. Say D dot. Now what do you think? What will be the output? But first try to understand this inheritance hierarchy. Take 30 seconds, visualize this inheritance hierarchy in your mind, and try to predict the output. So if I run this code, it will output 1. So that means to say it is D is not having any num value, but D is inheriting from B and C, and C has one num value, and because B and C are also inheriting from A is also having a num value. So D is accessing that num value which is present in C, which the C has mentioned, and not the one which is provided by the A. Now let's say here also we have num is equal to 2, and now try to run it. What will happen? Now it is displaying 2. Now it is not taking the num value mentioned by C, rather the num value mentioned by the B. Now, but if over here I change the order, let's say class D, here I mention C and then B, you say now it is 1. So that means to say the variables are called in a specific order. The method resolution take place using some algorithm, and that thing in Python is the MRO, the method resolution order. So actually there is a method available to you called MRO. If I write D dot MRO, method resolution operator, then this will show that resolution order. That means to say if number is present in all, let's say number is in A also, in B also, in C also, and in D also, let's say num is equal to 4. So what this method resolution order says, that first preference would be given to the value specified in D. Now if I try to run, I'll get output as 4. Why? Because D has the highest preference. If D doesn't have that information, let's say D is pass, Then second preference is given to C. Now because C has 1, so you can see now we have got the output as 1. If C also doesn't have that variable, so let's pass from C side also, then B's version would be called. Now if I run, okay, I'll get output 2, which is the value specified to this variable by the B class. And if B also doesn't have num, let's say here also we say pass, then A's num would be called. So you can see now we have got the output as 10. So this is the method resolution operator. But in inheritance hierarchies, which are very complex, so there it is not easy for you to predict, okay, in what order, how the different methods will get called. For example, there is one very complex scenario. Let me show you that. Go to this site. Have we looked at this inheritance hierarchy order? So it looks very complicated, like X, Y, Z inheriting from object, then A getting inherited from X and Y, B getting inherited from Y and Z, M getting inherited from A and B, and M is also getting inherited from Z. So practically, if you are dealing with such kind of scenarios, then see, obviously something is wrong, because your inheritance structure shouldn't look that complex. Your inheritance structure, inheritance hierarchy should be simple to understand, should be very simple. But anyways, if you are dealing with this kind of inheritance structure, then it will be very difficult for you to predict in what order different methods will get called if the methods with the same name exist in all the classes. So let's try to implement this thing. So in order to make this scenario, what we will do, we will create classes like this. Let's say class X pass. So we are trying to model this behavior X, Y, Z, A, B, and M. Class X is inheriting from object, so that thing happened by default. So class X, class Y, and class Z need not do anything, because as per this inheritance hierarchy, X, Y, and Z are inheriting from object, that by default is there. Okay. Then A, we define class A as inheriting from X and Y only, and pass, because yes, A is inheriting from X and Y. Then B is inheriting from Y and Z. Class A, Y, Z, and what we will do, pass, and then class M is inheriting from A, B, and Z. And pass. So yes, we have implemented this inheritance hierarchy, and now if I try to print M dot MRO, see, the system is returning this order. That is, first the preference would be given to A, that is to this class, then X. See, after A, preference is being given to X, then B, means then to B class, then Y and Z, then Y, then Z, and so on. So what I demonstrated is how you can get to know that in what order the method will get called or will be given preference if the method with the same name exists in all the classes that are present in your inheritance hierarchy. So similarly, if I say print m dot underscore underscore MRO underscore underscore, and let's make this statement as a comment. So here also, you will get the same order. So here, MR, so again, see how MR functionality is implemented by the Python system. It is basically the dunder method or the magic method. Again, I show you how you can override the existing, functionality. So using that concept, you can, override the functionality provided by the underscore MRO, this MRO method also. But in our case here, m.mro or m.underscore underscore MRO are the same thing. And if I change the order, let's say I make it B and make it A, and now if I run, now you see that B is coming first. Method resolution order has got changed. So these were the things with the MRO method resolution order, and I hope that this concept is clear to you. So now we will look at a practical problem of inheritance. So this problem you can work on in your next session also, and we'll also try to solve it now. But let me give you the problem first, so you all can note this problem. You need to declare 3 base classes: cement, steel, wood. What you need to do is calculate the cost of construction of a house or houses inheritance hierarchies like this. Single base class is house. No, you can say declare 3. Let these be the base class and single derived class. Yes, you need to implement single derived class is house. So please note down this problem. So you have to work on this problem in the next session. So inheritance hierarchy has been given to you. You need to declare 3 base classes. Those base classes are the cement, the steel, and the wood. And after that, you have to derive a single derived class, and the name will be the house. And what you need to do is we need to calculate the cost of construction of a house that is of 900 square feet. And through the program, I should be able to specify my requirements for the house. Like for a sample house, the requirements can be 400 bags of cement, each costing rupees 300, or 2 tons of steel costing rupees 17,000 per ton, 60 cubic feet of wood costing rupees 1200 per cubic feet. So these things somehow will be mentioned in these classes, steel, wood, and cement. Means these classes will accept these things, the quantity as well as the cost. So the base classes supply the data on the cost, like this is the cost 1300, 17,000, 1200, and it could be 1000 only. And the quantity can be like this: 400 bags, 2 tons of steel, 60 cubic feet of wood. Rest all the information you need to assume appropriately, but I want this functionality: calculate the cost of construction of a house. So take 1-2 minutes, try to understand how you would be handling the different things, and you have to attempt this problem in the next section. And we'll also I'll also give you hint. We'll also consider one more inheritance hierarchy of our website class that we prepared yesterday. So in 2-3 minutes we are going to discuss about that also. So yesterday we created a class website and we specified a little functionality in that. Now I'll try to visualize that website in inheritance term. So I'll give you the basic idea and try if you can complete that website, the functionality of that complete website. But for the time being, just try to understand this problem. Take 2 minutes, note down this question. This question you need to attempt in the next session, and after 2 minutes, now we will attempt that inheritance hierarchy or website inheritance. So hope you have noted down this problem. And the second problem that you need to work on is on this website problem. Well, please also note down this inheritance hierarchy also. You need to work on this problem as well. So in this inheritance hierarchy, we will consider a base class as website. So from this class, we will derive three more classes. TI, which is Technical Institutions website. MI website, which is basically a medical institutions website. And FI, basically the financial institutions website. Now, as per our inheritance concepts, common functionality will be specified at this level, and here unique functionality. The functionality that is unique to technical institutions website, medical institutions website, or financial institutions website. Now, the common functionality can be variables and methods can be that all the websites have a URL. Then all these lower websites, technical institution, medical institutions, or financial institutions may need to get HTML associated with that website. So get HTML or get HTTP response, or let's say scrap email information, or scrap faculty information, or scrap contact information. So all these institutions, technical institution, medical or financial institutions, they may have interest in scrapping email or faculty information or extracting contact information from the main website. So this is our common functionality, which will be inherited by these websites. And these websites will implement certain unique features as well, like technical institution. Here you mean go ahead with fetching placement data. In medical institution websites, you may go ahead with sorry, fetching patient statistics. And here you may go ahead with fetching investment options. Because of each of these three sites are giving you the unique functionality. So this is a hypothetical inheritance scenario in case of websites that you can attempt to create in your next session in 1.5 hours time. So please note down this, and I'll also show you the sample content, just the structure of the inheritance hierarchy, but try to focus on the functionality of these different functions. Like I mentioned that you need to write functions for scrapping email information, or scrapping faculty information, or scrapping contact information also. So you need to pay attention to these things actually. So take 1 minute, note down this exercise, then I'll show you the skeleton also, that what structure your solution look like as far as this problem is concerned. So 1 minute to you for noting down this problem. So hope you have noted down this problem. And let me give you a brief of the skeleton also. So yes, you can pay attention to this thing. I'm just discussing the structure or the skeleton of this project with you. So as per this diagram, so this is the base class. So in the init you are mentioning the URL. So get HTML function which will return the plain HTML text, and then get HTTP response object which will return the HTTP response. Then you need to write the functionality for this scrap faculty information, scrap email information, scrap mobile information. Just to give you an idea, I have written a little code to scrap mobile information, like response is equal to self.get HTTP response we obtained from this. Then numbers is equal to RE. RE basically is the regular expression, library we have imported. Dot find all 0 to 9 plus. So here we intend to find the numbers 0 to 9 only, more than one numbers. But this is not the complete solution. I am just giving you the hint. You need to apply your own mind, or you can, specify a complex regular expression over here that will exactly fetch, 10 digits number or 12 digits number if country code is also specified, 12 or 13 digits number. And then we have, technical institutions website where you need to read the placement related data. In medical institution website where you need to read the patient statistics, or financial institution website where you need to read about the investment plans. So again, if I create an object of website class, and if I try to call this function scrap mobile information on PU faculty, this let's make all these things comments. If I run these statements, PU physics faculty, this website's PU physics faculty of scrap mobile information, if I run, because I mentioned the code for that, but it is not a complete code. This is not a complete solution. I just wanted to give you the hints. So you'll see now we are able to subtract these numbers from the website. Obviously, if the number is 10 digits, that means that is a mobile number, contact number. So you can further process this list, like from within this you can find out the entries which are exactly 10 digits long, and then you can go ahead for their uniqueness then, and then ultimately you will drill down to the actual mobile numbers. So this is just a brief idea how information can be scrapped with the help of regular expression from a website. So I'll make these things comments now. And if you, another thing, we talked about the beautiful soup library also. So like this, you can look for the text mentioned in the specific tags also. Like if you consider this code, all td is equal to soup.find all td. So if you are familiar with HTML, you might be knowing that td is a table data tag. So with find all this td, we are finding all the table data tag in the HTML text that is there in the website, and then we are iterating over that data. For all td and td, we are printing td.get text. So what we are doing over here is all the information that is present in the table, we are trying to extract that. And if I run this code, you can see we are able to extract faculty information, professor, this thing is PhD, phone number, and this is the email ID. But you know, in the HTML text, those @ sign have been replaced by these special characters. So you need to take extra care. So similarly, information about second faculty, third faculty, so like this. So just by extracting data from within those you know, HTML tags, we are able to extract this information. But these are just the starting point for you. I'm just giving you the idea. I'm just scratching the surface that you know, how websites can be scrapped. That now what efficiency you can achieve, what accuracy you can achieve, well, that depends on you, how much time you are able to devote. So with this, I will end the discussion because just 5-6 minutes are left, and we will, you know, use this time to answer your queries. So yes, please, now you can pose your queries in the chat box.
Good afternoon, sir. Dr. Sarabjit.
Anji, good afternoon, sir.
Anji, sir. Now I request all the participants to just put your queries under the chat box. If you have something to ask about, then you are most welcome to put your questions. And further, Dr. Sarabjit, I just want to inform you that they are required to complete certain projects as the output of their training. So
Okay.
what I thought initially is that your last lecture ended with the web scraping one. So
yes,
web scraping and I think many more maybe there which maybe using the concept of classes and objects. So it really
yes,
would be great if you can throw some more ideas about the projects which they can pursue further.
Okay. So basically, actually, students need to go through different books. Actually, you know, here they need to, you know, look at each and every thing in terms of, you know, in object-oriented sense.
Yeah.
So like you see websites, okay, you know, somehow that object-oriented concept is hidden behind those websites also. Look at the vehicles, okay, there also they can visualize the inheritance hierarchy. University system, there also, you know, they can, you know, visualize the inheritance hierarchy. Their courses or means the new technologies, maybe IoT, the devices that are available in the IoT technologies, they can also be visualized in terms of a specific, you know, inheritance hierarchy. Like we have small devices available. Raspberry Pi is there, Arduino is there. So a base class, let's say CPU, and then the derived classes like Raspberry Pi, Arduino can be again this basically the creativity aspect of that of the student. But again, we faculty members, you know, definitely share whatever information we have with the students. But the ultimate source are going to be the, you know, books that the students have to explore at their own end. So you go to different sites, you go to Amazon, see what are the top 10, 20, 30 books in object-oriented Python or web scraping. So if you know, read the opinion or the, you know, presentation style of different authors, so you learn a lot via that way. So this you need to broaden your, you know, area of horizon. You read more, you explore more. So this is the only thing that will, you know, help the students.
Fine, Dr. Sarabjit, that is very true also. Actually, the experts are going to just provide you a spark out of the Python. What actually are the things which are going to be useful while thinking in terms of developing any project specific. So every participant need to work hard towards the pursuit of their project. That is it from my side, Dr. Sarabjit. And Dr. Amandeep, now you may continue. Yeah. Dr. Amandeep, you may continue.
Oh, okay, sir. Thank you. Sarabji sir, you can just suggest 1 or 2 names of the books. Like they will just see the books through on the Amazon or as suggested by you. But if you can just highlight 1 or 2.
Okay. So I need to check. Matlab, right now I'm not able to recall the names, but definitely because tomorrow also I am taking the session.
Yeah, sure.
I'll
Sure.
pass the the name of 2-3 good books. Definitely, I'll do that tomorrow.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. So, any participants, if you have any question?
But all the participants must attempt these questions. The problems that I have given to you, like first you need to work out the cost of construction of a house. And second is this one. Again, if you have interest in web scraping, you can go ahead with that. But that previous, exercise in which you have to work out the cost of construction of a house, that is very simple, general, application. So everybody should attempt that problem at least.
So, these question, is there any time constraint for these students? Or it is just an assignment?
No. They can take, their own time, 1-2 days. So basically, they're open to explore.
Yes.
Because
It's just for their
just given them
practice.
hints.
Okay.
I've just given them the idea. Yes. So at their own also later on they can extend the classes.
Sure, sir. So, participants, there will be no quiz today, as you are asking in the chat below. So, the session is open for the questions from the Dr. Sarabji. If you want to ask any question, you can ask now. I think we.
Okay, so we can end the session now.
Yes, I think so, sir. So actually, they are leaving the room.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for this nice session.
Okay, thank you.
And we will see you tomorrow for the next sessions too. Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you all.
One thing I want to actually being the host for today's meeting, you must be having the recordings for both of the sessions at your system.
Dr. Sarabji, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So the recordings. Okay, sir. This session, I am recording this session, so I will send the recording of the session.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, sure.
डॉक्टर सर जी सुबह वाले सेशन की रिकॉर्डिंग आपके सिस्टम में आई होगी.
I'll see if this is the case. I'll share it with you.